Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast is a member of the Mice Chat Podcast Network. MicePod.com. Now, discover the universe, one theme park at a time.
Greetings, Universal fans. It's time for the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast, discovering more about the Universal Orlando Resort, as well as Universal Studios Hollywood, Japan, and Singapore.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 78 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast. I'm your hostess, Tracy, and with me is Lee.
Hello everyone.
And our very special guest, Nick.
Hi everyone.
The show...
Everyone's going, who the hell's Nick?
I should have introduced myself. So.
No. Well,
we'll get to that. The show is brought to you by MiceChat.com and Be Our Guest Destinations. We'd like to start the show with a news update.
Hey everyone, Hunter here with your news update. Of course, Universal Orlando's Mardi Gras celebrations began at Universal Studios Florida last Saturday with Daughtry performing. If you're heading there this weekend, you can catch the Bare Naked Ladies performing on Saturday and Thomas Rhett performing on Sunday. Also on Tuesday, Universal announced two more acts for this year, and they are Kelly Rowland, who will be performing on March 28th, and The Roots, which will be performing on May 17th. The new on-site hotel, Universal's Cabana Bay Beach Resort, is now on Facebook and Instagram. You can get involved in the conversation by using the hashtag Cabana Bay Resort. You can also find them at Facebook at facebook.com/Cabana Bay Resort. Of course, as most of you guys probably know by now, the new Beetlejuice show at Universal Studios Florida debuted last Saturday, which was the 8th. Darren and Eric both saw the show that day, so join us for next week's episode for Darren's full review and a snippet of the audio too. Also, don't forget you can keep up with us over at our new Facebook page, facebook.com/UUO podcast. Or email us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. So now, a word from our sponsors and back to the show.
In a world where the skies are clouded with ADRs, park tickets, and hotel bookings, one hero stands like a beacon of light in the darkness. Heather at Be Our Guest Destinations. She can book all of your Universal Orlando vacation needs, and her service is free for you. If you're staying on Disney property for some reason, she can even book Universal tickets that include transportation. How awesome is that? She's also an authorized Disney vacation planner, as well as being able to book all cruise lines. So if you are planning on battling Megatron alongside Optimus Prime on the Transformers ride, or having a duff in the Springfield area, or planning even further ahead to visit Harry Potter in Diagon Alley this summer, contact Heather at 1-800-796-6240 or via email at heather@destinationsinflorida.com today, and don't forget to tell her that you're repping the UUOP. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
So welcome back, and now it's time to get on with our interview. We've invited Nick on to talk about his book, Universal Orlando, The Unofficial Story, which Nick has been so kind to offer some copies to give away as prizes, so stay until the very end to find out how to win them. So, for those of you who don't know who Nick Sim is, Nick, please would you tell us about yourself?
Okay, so I'm the owner and editor of themeparktourist.com, which is a sort of news and reviews website covering theme parks all over the world.
Sorry, MiceChat.com, I'm not sure whether we're allowed to promote other websites on here, are we?
We're certainly not in competition with MiceChat. We're in a very smaller league to MiceChat, I think.
It's a good site, actually.
And it's a husband and wife pairing, so similar to you guys. So
cool.
I started the site with my wife, Natalie, back in 2009 as a sort of side project. And I'm very lucky to be able to say that running it's now basically a full-time job.
Awesome, that's what I want this to be.
It will be soon, mate. You're heading in the right direction. I guess I've got a typical background. I've been a huge fan of theme parks for many years, ever since my parents took me to a tiny little park called Pleasurewood Hills in England back when I was 6 years old. And dreamed of visiting Disney World and Universal Orlando from a very early age, and I guess you can tell why I'm so in love with my wife, because she first took me there on our honeymoon in 2009.
Oh,
so
she's a keeper.
She is.
So is that the first time you visited Orlando then in 2009?
It was, yeah. So it's relatively recently. And we had the pain of seeing the Wizarding World being constructed and being unable to visit it at that time, which was extremely frustrating.
We felt that pain.
And for us, we were there in November that year.
Yeah, it was lots of longing looks over the bridge from the Jurassic Park area, but we got there in the end. I
got told off for standing on one of the benches in the Lost Continent trying to take pictures over the side.
Oh dear!
Always one.
Very naughty. So I run Theme Park Tourist, as I said, and we obviously cover Universal Orlando's fairly extensively. It's one of the sort of main parks that main resorts that we focus on. I've been fascinated by the place for many years, because it's got some of the kind of most unique rides of any resort in the world.
Definitely.
So there's kind of I don't know if we want to get into it yet, but there's kind of a personal story into kind of why I went from running the website to kind of writing a book about Universal Orlando. So I can go into that if you guys are interested.
Well, no, I'm assuming this is the story that I will have heard you talk about on another one of the Mice Pod on the season pass. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah. So it's kind of a continuation of the story I told on the season pass.
Cool for anyone. Doug. Yes, for anyone who hasn't listened, definitely go ahead, Nick. I'm sure people find it fascinating. Well, Tracy hasn't heard it, so.
Yeah, so I guess like many people, I've always dreamed of going on a big family vacation to Orlando and taking my kids and seeing them experience Disney and Universal for the first time. Obviously, one important prerequisite for achieving that dream was to actually have children. Fortunately, about 15 months ago, Natalie gave birth to our son, Stephen, which was a really exciting time for us because, as well as having a family, we're also both ready to pack in our jobs and work on Theme Park Tourist, which was really our dream. So our lives were basically panning out pretty much exactly how we'd planned them. But obviously, life doesn't necessarily work according to anyone's plan. And like it does sometimes, it hit us with a bit of a surprise. So just before Stephen was born, I was diagnosed with a sort of life-threatening illness, which I'm not going to go into. But one of the upshots was that I'd need more or less continuous treatment in the UK pretty much indefinitely. So I was basically told long-haul international travel was kind of out of the question, and my dream of taking my family off to Florida was pretty much over. But there was plenty of other stuff to do, and I had an amazing time just getting to know little Stephen and watching all the amazing things that kids do as they grow up. And I also managed to tick off one of my other life goals, which was to write a book. And so I wrote one about Alton Towers, which I guess your UK listeners will know is the most popular theme park over here.
Yes.
And that was published in October. And by that point, I'd really kind of started to believe that whatever my health situation, there was kind of no reason to hold back on living life. So in fact, if anything, the total opposite was true. That there's a real sense of urgency to kind of cram in as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so I decided that I was going to basically ignore my doctors and go to Florida anyway. And so we did. We managed to cram in a 2-week trip out there. And it was just unbelievably amazing and awesome. There were two kind of real highlights for me. One was getting to see Stephen meet Mickey Mouse. Probably should say that on the first podcast.
You can say it, it's fine.
You've never seen such a huge happy smile on the child's face as we did then. It was really incredible. And the other slightly more selfish one, and much more appropriate for this podcast, was getting to experience the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which we'd obviously seen under construction, but I'd resigned myself to not being able to visit. And so we spent a couple of weeks wandering around the Disney and Universal parks, having an incredible time experiencing one sort of amazing attraction after another. And it began to occur to me that whereas when we go and see a movie, we're kind of aware of who stars in it and probably who directed it as well. Mm-hmm. The same really isn't true with theme park rides. I mean, most people would kind of ride Spider-Man or Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and they'll get off the ride and won't even consider for a moment who created it or how. And that kind of seems like a real shame to me. It seems like the people who designed and built those rides that kind of gave me and my family such a wonderful time really deserve to have a lot more recognition.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree.
That's what we try, and that's what one of the things that we tried to bring with starting this podcast very much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, the interviews you guys do really, make a huge difference on that. And I was kind of aware from the past that there's dozens of books about Disney World and Imagineering. You know, if you go look on Amazon, type in Imagineering, you'll find probably 100 books.
Yep.
But I couldn't ever remember seeing a similar book about Universal. And that seemed a bit ridiculous because, as I said, Universal Orlando is home to basically some of the most amazing attractions in the world, bar none. You know, for me, Spider-Man is the best ride in the world. And I know many people think the same about Forbidden Journey as well.
Yes.
And because I just finished publishing one book, I decided that if nobody else was going to write one about Universal, then I better have a go at doing it myself. And so really, the idea of the book was basically it's sort of a personal thank you for me to the people who've played a role in creating Universal Orlando, and you know, who've given all of us all these amazing experiences. So that's kind of how it came about.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, I know from... Sorry, Tris, go on, then I'll jump in. I know from listening to your interview on the season pass, Nick, that like you say, it was quite a short process writing your Alton Towers book.
Yeah.
What sort of length of time was this one, then?
Well, I don't know if I should tell you. It might put you off reading it, to be honest. But yeah, there was one big constraint on the project, and that was time. So for obvious reasons, I tend to do everything in quite a hurry these days. I was also quite keen to get it out around Christmas because I know that lots of people get Kindles for Christmas, and you know, I thought this would be a fun, sort of cheap, fun read for them to have on Kindle. But obviously, typically, somebody writing about the history of something as big as Universal Orlando, you could spend literally years on it. I mean, it could be almost an open-ended project. You know, gathering information and interviewing the various people who've been involved over the years, but that wasn't really an option for me. So I did cram it into quite a short time period. I mean, it was literally less than 3 months, to be honest, into the entire project from start to finish.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is not a rushed product. It really isn't. That is, I am in awe.
I hope not. There may be a typo or two that's found their way in there, but hopefully not too many. But I was kind of okay with that because I knew from experience with writing the first book about Alton Towers that there's actually a ridiculous amount of information available to us basically at our fingertips these days. Yeah. So when I was writing that one, I was literally ploughing through 200-year-old newspapers from the comfort of my desk at home because everything is digitized these days. I mean, you know, not just major newspapers, but regional newspapers as well. And because the story of Universal Orlando sort of largely takes place during the last 3 decades, I kind of knew that it would be even easier to find quite a lot of information about it from existing archives. So that made things a lot easier. The other thing that's true about Universal is if you want to, you can go online and find out quite a lot of information about how you know, any particular attraction at the resort was built. You know, whether it's kind of articles and interviews or the sort of interviews that you guys have on your podcasts or kind of official behind the scenes type videos. Yeah. And that obviously made my life a lot easier, but also I guess to some extent it could almost have negated the need for me to write a book at all, because if people can find out that stuff anyway, then almost what's the point? Well,
the point is that you can still put all that information into one easily accessible place and negate the fact that people have to go searching for it.
Because people are lazy.
So I guess the real benefit of putting it all together into one book, I hope, is that it becomes clear just how much each sort of successive generation of Universal rides builds on the last.
Yeah.
So if you start, for example, right back at Back to the Future, which opened in '91, which was the second year that Universal Studios Florida was open, that kind of employed a huge projection screen and these motion simulator vehicles. And then a few years after that came Terminator 2 3D, and that took the sort of large screen from Back to the Future, added some 3D effects, and then also layered on all the real world sets and even live actors. And then you jump another few years and Spider-Man took the best bits of both of those rides. So it had the combination of the 3D effects and the physical assets from Terminator 2 and then the simulator technology from Back to the Future, put all of those into one amazing dark ride. And then you jump on again and you've got Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, which takes all those elements and kind of adds the flying effect on top. So there is a real benefit. You can really see how this stuff's kind of layered over many years into the sort of product that Universal has now. And you also really get a sense for the almost crazy level of risk that Universal takes on with some of its rides.
Yeah, I hadn't realised just how many risks they've taken.
Well,
over
especially
the years.
when you look back at the hassle they had. Well, they're going really cutting edge with stuff as well. And you look back as far as when Jaws first opened, the problems they had with that ride for the first 3 years, that they're still prepared to go and do stuff that no one else has done.
Yeah, and take those risks.
No, and really, it was kind of born out of necessity, because I guess the story of Universal Studios Florida is completely tied into the story of Disney's Hollywood Studios, or Disney MGM Studios, as it was called. And I mean, basically, Universal had a plan to build something very similar to Universal Studios Hollywood out in Florida, to kind of take advantage of the fact that, you know, Disney had created this kind of new tourism market in Central Florida. But Disney had gone from being quite a nice, friendly company that was quite kind to its neighbours in Florida, to one that was kind of bent on competing with them very aggressively under Michael Eisner. And they basically took, well, I shouldn't say this because probably questionable legally, although I could say this, but their park that they designed, Disney MGM Studios, looked very similar to the one that Universal had initially proposed for Florida.
I'd heard that somebody at Disney had actually seen, or was it not Michael Eisner?
It was Eisner when he was at Paramount.
That's right, yes.
Saw the plans. I'm not saying he copied them. I mean, if you're going to build a studios park, then, you know, it was going to look something similar to Universal Studios Hollywood. That's kind of how it is. But that kind of meant that Universal really couldn't then, because there was no way they were going to finish building it before Disney, because Disney's got its own government and they can kind of do whatever they want. So they kind of had to do something very different. And they essentially tore up their original plan and said, okay, we're not going to build a studio tour. We're going to build individual rides based on the best bits of the studio tour from Universal Studios Hollywood. But the problem they had was that I think the most they'd spent on an attraction at that point was about $6.5 million on the King Kong section of the studio tour in Hollywood. And they were proposing rides that were going to cost basically $30 to $40 million each.
That's a big jump.
Using technology. They'd never really built a ride before. I mean, they'd built parts of the studio tour and they'd built shows, but they'd never built an actual ride. They were going to be completely bespoke and custom. And to be honest, like if you actually look at the other rides that were around at the time, things like Jaws and Confrontation and Earthquake, which were the kind of 3 headline rides, were completely off the wall. I mean,
that's why they didn't work.
They were like nothing else, and then they didn't work. So for most of the first year, or most of the first 6 months that the park was actually up and running, they had major problems with all 3 of those rides, and the problems, as you said, with Jaws were so severe that in the end they just gave up and shut it down after a few months and essentially started again and rebuilt it.
It's such a shame as well, because I think God, I can't even get my words out. I'm sure I found a video on YouTube of the original rides with the turntable bit and then the explosion bit at the end, and it looked a much better ride. It does look amazing. I mean, the really I guess the set pieces in Confrontation and Jaws were both kind of similar, because they both involved the main sort of monster actually grabbing the ride vehicle and shaking it around. So in Confrontation, Kong kind of picked up the tram and then threw it on the floor. And in Jaws, in the original version, the shark would actually swim up, bite the boat, and then kind of shake it around a bit. But the problem was with Jaws is you're kind of dealing with these huge robots that have got to move really fast against kind of great water pressure and be timed to move at exactly the same time as a moving boat. And they just could not get it to work. And in the end, they literally just gave up, and that scene was cut. Yeah, I think it was something to do. They had problems with the turntable as well, lining up as part of it.
There were all sorts of problems. And, you know, quite often people would be riding on Jaws and they'd find that the shark was literally just still sat on the bottom of the lagoon, just staring at them rather than kind of shaking the boat about as it was supposed to be.
I think it's in your book as well, isn't it? I know Steven Spielberg got stranded on it opening day for about 8 hours.
Yeah, yes. And he certainly wasn't alone. I mean, it wouldn't operate for more than a few hours at a time without some sort of breakdown. So in the end, it just wasn't feasible for them to keep it up and running. And they tore out the entire ride system and completely replaced all the sharks. Kept some of the plot, but basically the 2 main scenes, which were the kind of boat shaking scene and the exploding shark at the end were both kind of deemed too problematic to keep in there, and they were kind of replaced with new scenes.
Yeah, which is
And
fair
no,
enough.
it's not there at all.
But it was great, the replacement. I mean,
It's my favourite ride.
I
I'm
love
still
Jaws.
crying over the loss of that.
and I don't think we're going to see rides like that ever again. I mean, if you look at Confrontation and Jaws, they were kind of of their time, because at that time, if you made a film, then a blockbuster movie, you would have literally giant monsters. So Jaws was made with a robotic shark. If you made Jaws now, you would make it on a computer, basically, and you can see that in Universal's rides as well. I mean, they still use physical sets in things like Spider-Man and Forbidden Journey, but they're primarily kind of digital creations on a screen. And it's kind of a shame that Jaws has gone, because it's very hard to see another sort of big animatronic creature like that sort of ever being created in a theme park, really.
The big rumours I've heard is there might be one in a couple of years' time, but there you go.
Yeah, although I've also heard rumours that kind of Kong replacement might be primarily digital as well, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm praying for a giant animatronic.
Yeah,
If
you
the-
can't beat that. For all you know, and your brain's saying it's not real, it's an animatronic. You can't beat that rush of adrenaline when you've got something like that coming towards you.
Well, it's like to drag Disney into it. If you go down Expedition Everest, it's such a shame, that Yeti doesn't work.
It is, it is, but I guess it's probably a function of cost. I mean, they've got to keep these rides running almost every day of the year, and keeping a 39-foot tall King Kong up and running is probably quite expensive.
I'm sure.
But I would pay extra to go and see that. So if anyone's listening from Universal, do it.
Yes. So, Nick, did you have a particular chapter that was a favourite to write and research?
So I guess the one. I mean, I loved learning everything about Universal Orlando, particularly Islands of Adventure and how kind of Spider-Man and those rides were created. But I guess the one that probably surprised me was there's a chapter in there about the actual history of the studios. So, I mean, I guess people are aware, we're sort of vaguely aware now that Universal Studios Florida is a working production studio. There are sound stages there. You can kind of hire out a soundstage and actually film an advert or a TV program or even a movie there if you want to. But I really hadn't realised to what extent it was intended to be a major production studio to begin with.
Yeah. And,
going and learning about how the movies were made and actually seeing production in action was going to be a major part of the park. I mean, they were going to shut down the backlot streets. So things like the New York sets, the San Francisco sets, that they were expecting to reroute guests around those while people were actively filming. And all of the rides were put in sound stages that would keep the sound in.
Yeah.
So one of the big problems at Disney MGM Studios that they discovered straight away was the sound effects from Catastrophe Canyon meant that you couldn't film anything during the day, which was kind of a bit of a killer for their own plan.
Yeah.
But at Universal, they really were geared up for production, and there really were films and quite well known TV programs and filmed on site at the studios. And I really hadn't realised to what extent that they'd really gone for it on that. And it's kind of a shame that it didn't quite take off. I mean, Disney kind of threw in the towel a little bit earlier. I mean, they almost gave up straight away, really, on turning their park into a real working studio. But Universal did kind of plug away at it for some years, and they had a few unfortunate things, like one of the first sort of tenant production companies that kind of took over a soundstage there kind of collapsed in a slightly fraudulent way, and a lot of the people involved went to prison, and that kind of wasn't Universal's. It wasn't Universal's fault. They were acting in good faith with that company, and also they brought in Nickelodeon. I mean, that was a major attraction for over a decade, and at one point, that was the centre for production of a Nickelodeon, which was a fairly major cable network in the US. So it's a shame, really, that kind of side of the resort and the park has kind of died down a bit, although it does still live on, and you can still tell when you go to events like Halloween Horror Nights or something like that, you can sort of feel that you are somewhere that it's not just fake. There is some real kind of production aspect to it. So yeah, that was one of the things that I really didn't know at all really about Universal before I started the book project.
I know we hung out at the park quite late when we were there in August, and New York, it's probably truer for New York than anywhere else in the park, but if you go down the side streets and stuff, you literally could be in New York. It's that authentic.
Yeah, and they said the big boast when they opened the park in 1990 was that you could film an entire New York set film there, as long as you didn't have any sort of long panning shots. I mean, you might have to film them in the real New York, but you could film an entire New York production there from start to finish. Even though actually the New York area in the park is not very big, but just by dressing things up in slightly different ways and being clever with camera angles and that sort of thing, you could literally film an entire movie there.
Because that's why it's curved, isn't it? So you can still film on it, but not see, like San Francisco from... If you film from either end of it, you can't see anything else other than New York.
Exactly, but the unusual thing about it was the backlot. I mean, it was designed by real backlot design experts, production designers from Hollywood. But whereas in Universal Studios Hollywood, they only really need the facade of a building, so it doesn't need to be real. In Universal Studios Florida, because there were going to be actual streets that people walked on, and they were going to have restaurants and shops and that kind of thing in, they had to be proper, solidly built buildings that met kind of building regulations and all that kind of thing. So it's, as a backlot in that sense, it's slightly unusual, but it is still, even today, you can go onto the Universal Studios Florida website and they will hire out the backlot for a production. It's still possible to film there, although I imagine on a practical level, given how popular the park is now, it must be much more difficult than it was back in 1990.
Right, Tracy, UUOP, the movie, it's happening.
Who's going to play me?
Darren. Hunter. No, Hunter.
Who's going to play me?
Oh, no, Eric had a dress on recently. He can play you. Just give him a wig.
Just reading the book, there were 5 chapters that I really just wanted... I got to the end of them and just wanted to go back and read them again because I enjoyed them so much. Because I don't know, just something about the way you'd written them. It just transported me back to these rides.
Which ones were those then? So we had obviously need to work on the other 6 chapters.
No, these were all good. These were just like my favourite ones.
I just pulled you up there.
Well, maybe he's right. No, I'm kidding. No, I really liked chapter 2, which was giant apes, murderous sharks, and cuddly aliens.
Okay.
And
so about the kind of creation of the original set of rides for Universal Studios Florida.
Yes. And being one of the people that didn't get to experience confrontation, I was reading it, I was like, I really, really wish that we'd experienced this one. I'm sure you're the same, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as we were talking about with Jaws, it was really interesting to read exactly how badly it went wrong and then how they managed to redeem it.
It is kind of amazing to what extent. I mean, they'd spent tens of millions of dollars on these rides, but they were literally held together with a piece of string.
Yeah.
And the thing I found amazing with Confrontation was Peter Alexander, who was the main show producer for Universal at the time. I think he was actually the only show producer at the time they started the project before they brought in some other guys as well. And he was kind of, largely responsible for the design of Confrontation, and he kind of, commissioned the 2 huge animatronic versions of King Kong. He'd got the ride system from Arrow, which was this, kind of version of the aerial tram from New York. And then, you kind of think of him as a fairly senior manager within the whole project, because he was kind of overseeing the entire park.
Yeah.
And on the opening day of the park, he was sat in King Kong operating him to make sure that everything went okay. It was kind of that level of all hands to the pump. Let's just try and make it work. Although obviously they, in the end, they managed to get that attraction to operate for a bit on opening day, but for the ensuing few months, Confrontation was pretty much shut all the time. But I mean, I'm completely with you, Tracy. I I'm gutted that I never got to ride Confrontation. I
sounds amazing.
very much doubt there will ever be another attraction anything like it. And although I absolutely love Revenge of the Mummy, which obviously replaced it. I kind of wish they put that somewhere else and just kept.
I agree.
As well.
Well, it's like I know if Darren was here, Darren would say. I mean, Darren's been visiting the park since 1990. He was there opening year. Mm-hmm. He never rode King Kong because it was closed every time he went.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that might explain why it was replaced by Revenge of the Mummy, to be honest. Yeah. You kind of get an impression for how difficult and expensive it must be to keep some of these attractions going. And you can really see the difference. So I guess jumping a couple of chapters on, when they built Islands of Adventure, I mean, Islands of Adventure, to me, still feels like quite a new park. Yeah. But actually, they started the project not that long after Universal Studios Florida had opened, and the whole experience of the bad press and the thousands of people queuing up for refunds was still kind of really fresh in their minds, and they allowed themselves so much longer to build the ride at Islands of Adventure.
Yeah.
And basically everything worked pretty much flawlessly from day one, because they were testing things from almost a year out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately they had the opposite problem, which was whereas huge crowds turned up and were disappointed at Universal Studios Florida, unfortunately hardly anyone turned up at the opening of Islands of Adventure, and although they had a wonderful time, the park really didn't take off for several years.
Because they completely mismarketed it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's so lucky now that the Wizarding World has enabled people to discover the rest of that park, because, it'd be such a shame for people not to have discovered Spider-Man and the Hulk and everything else that's great about that park, just because of some bad marketing, basically.
Yeah, I love Islands of Adventure. Yeah.
We fell in love with it the second we stepped foot in it.
The first time I rode Spider-Man in 2004, I was, and I know you'll find it hard to believe, I was speechless. It blew me away.
It was just on another level to anything else that had ever been done. And I thought it was very interesting. I didn't realise this at all, that originally Spider-Man was going to be a much less ambitious ride. It was really going to be a fairly bog standard dark ride in the original plan. But then Disney built Indiana Jones Adventure over at Disneyland, and I think that's an amazing ride, and it did push dark rides onto another level. And Universal, being quite competitive as they are, kind of took a look at that and said, hang on a minute, we kind of let these guys get away with this. We've got to do something really spectacular if we're opening a new park. And actually, as you go through the story of Universal, and probably if you did the same thing with Disney, you do realise that actually there's a real benefit to theme park fans from these two companies both existing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If there was only one of them, they would not have pushed things as far as they have. And particularly Universal, because, Disney is kind of such a giant and so popular that in order just to prize people away just for one day from Disney World, they had to do something absolutely amazing. And then when it came to Islands of Adventure, and they're looking to get people to come for 2-3 days at a time, they really had to push the boat out, and they did. And it is a shame that they mismarketed it, but it's so great now that that park is getting the kind of attendance levels that it really deserves.
And I know, kind of going back onto what you said before, Nick, it's quite like I've delved into it just a little bit, but the amount of hands that actually have been on that park, people probably have no idea how many different companies have worked on. You would think it's like, right, you get one company and then they build it from, but it's not. It's so many different companies.
If you just look at Spider-Man, I mean, every individual part of that ride has had some kind of world-leading expert, either individual or company, work on it. Mm-hmm. And how they actually manage to pull all those disparate things together into something that actually works, and that works reliably for, 16 hours a day or whatever it is, 365 days a year, is just, even though I now understand how they did it, I still don't really understand how they did it, because it just seems completely impossible. And
because they had to overcome something that no one had ever done before, and that was actually moving past a 3D screen as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they literally invented their own technique, which is patented for overcoming the kind of distortion you get from going past the 3D screens. And that is one thing which for me still differentiates Spider-Man from the Harry Potter ride, because the 3D effects in Spider-Man just for me take it to a kind of another level of immersion. And even though it's now 14 years old, that ride, I still think that certainly Universal is still struggling to surpass it, and anyone else is kind of nowhere near. Really, they're not even come close.
Sorry, I'm a much bigger Harry Potter fan.
Yes, but Spider-Man's still top of our list.
There are other things about Harry Potter which are well ahead of Spider-Man, which have kind of taken it on to another level. But that's kind of.
It's always going to. We've said it. Sorry, Tracy. I keep putting it over the top. It's one of those two rides. I think it depends how you feel when you get out of bed that morning.
I just don't think it matters. They're both amazing.
Yes.
Who cares?
Fair enough.
Yes.
Go on, Trace.
That's all right. just getting back to my chapters and what I was talking about. That's all right. You boys talk together.
They're geeking out, man.
That's all right. So I'm reading through the book and I'm really enjoying this. Pushing the children away. If you're hungry, just go and find anything to eat. I don't really care. And I read chapter 5, which was I'll Be Back. No prizes for guessing what that one was about. And I just looked up and I said to Lee, oh man, this is my favourite chapter so far. It was absolutely amazing. I didn't realise just how much work went into that movie. That's because I was.
It is a movie.
Well, yeah, it is a movie. Yeah, into that ride, into that environment, and how Cameron came on board and basically went, "I'm doing this." I thought that was amazing, and he got the cast together, and it was.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I'm kind of gutted about that chapter because obviously we went to Universal fairly recently, so it was only a few months ago, and I was kind of there we had my mum and dad with us, and we had little Stephen, and in the end, we didn't actually go into Terminator 2 3D. I mean, obviously, I've experienced it before in Florida and in Hollywood, and I know it's amazing. But I kind of really regret it now because having actually now understood how they made that attraction, I kind of really just want to go and experience it just one more time because they're going to take it out at some point.
I hope
probably
not.
Fairly soon. And I'm the same as you. I hadn't realised that really that kind of Terminator 2 attraction was sort of conceived, again, a bit like Spider-Man, as being something much less grand than it actually turned out to be. And really it was, almost one meeting between Gary Goddard, who was kind of behind the design of the ride, and James Cameron that kind of led to it becoming what it was. And there aren't really many other rides where the actual real director, and creator of the movie has kind of come on board to that extent. And essentially Terminator 2 3D was basically a sequel. It was kind of a mini sequel to Terminator 2. And then I think because they did that, because Universal were able to do that with Cameron, they've been able to do it again with other projects. So I mean, J.K. Rowling obviously was really involved in the Wizarding World.
Yes.
And even kind of sort of slightly less high profile attractions like Shrek 4D. I mean, they got all of the original cast, and it is essentially a sequel to the original Shrek. And I think Terminator 2 is a much more influential attraction than I'd kind of given it credit for before I sort of looked into it.
Well, go on. I know Raymond, our oldest, hadn't seen the movies the first time we went in to see that, and he absolutely loved it. And then it's only been recently we've let him watch the first two. And actually, the first Terminator, if you asked him now, he would say it was his favourite movie.
Well, it is a classic.
Absolutely.
I remember I wasn't allowed to watch that either, but I sneakily did when I was about 8 years old, I think.
Wow.
I thought I was young when I saw it.
Well, it's one of the perks of having an older brother, but I was still there. I still have nightmares about the scene where he's kind of chopping his eye out.
Yeah, it's a bit grim, though.
Never quite got over that.
But yeah, I do need to get back and re-ride that because now I've got a newfound appreciation for it.
Oh, it's stunning anyway. I just love the interaction with the live actors and the screen and the whole thing. And we actually said when we did it last time that we felt, as far as 3D attractions go, it was actually the best 3D. Because we felt like Spider-Man and Transformers, even though they've been upgraded, it didn't feel traditionally 3D. Do you know, I find it hard to explain because it's not, things don't come out, but it never felt like there was much depth in it. I don't know whether it was just my perception of the two, but the 3D, yes, it was crystal clear, but it never felt 3D, whereas T2 really does.
I liked what James Cameron actually said about the kind of goal with the 3D in Terminator 2, and he said basically that the aim was not to make the audience feel as though you're continually poking them in the eye, but basically to continually poke them in the eye.
Yes.
And I
like
think that's
that
what it does, because everything in the attraction kind of fits with the story, and it's not kind of contrived, just 3D effects for the sake of it, like you get in some not very good 3D films in the cinema. But basically, there is stuff kind of jumping out of the screen all the time. There's those little hunter-killer robots kind of flying around and that kind of thing. And you do feel like you could reach out and touch it. And for an attraction that's kind of getting on a bit in age, that is quite impressive. But I think part of the difference probably is that in Spider-Man, you're kind of racing around on an adventure in the vehicle, whereas in Terminator 2, you're kind of trapped in the auditorium with all these kind of crazy Terminators attacking you, and there's no getting away from it. But yeah, that was an incredibly influential attraction, and you can see sort of elements of Terminator 2 3D in virtually every major Universal ride since. Yeah. Particularly the way it just combines the kind of virtual stuff on the screen with the real physical stuff in the room. And I think that's great, because you could see a future where everything had kind of just gone into the digital side of things and the physical sets were thrown out. But now, even, looking going forward, things like the Gringotts ride sound like they're still going to have quite a heavy sort of physical set element to them, which I think is great.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you're right. I think with T2 getting taken out of Hollywood, I think its days are numbered, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think see it while you can.
Yes, please.
Ooh.
I know. I've got to say though, with that ride, that attraction, I don't think I've even told Lee this. I can't actually sit on the end of the row.
Oh, because of those T100s or whatever they are. Is that what they are?
Yeah, because even though I'm a big lady girl and I know they're not really real, little part of me is a bit scared that if one of them just makes a wrong move, that's it. I'm out of there.
It was the first time Jade saw it, and she freaked out when the T1 million came on, and all you had to do is she just leant over, grabbed hold of her glasses, just lifted them up, and she went, "Oh, okay." And put them back down.
She was fine.
I mean, given the number of malfunctions there were at the opening of Universal Studios Florida, maybe you're right to be afraid. That's what happens with Terminators. They go wrong. And
maybe I've just changed my mind.
I've seen that episode of The Simpsons at Itchy and Scratchy Land.
Yes. So yes, that was my favourite chapter at that moment. Then I read chapter 8, Alien Attack, and that was just, I just felt like I was there in the queue line and the ride with the descriptions and everything.
That attraction is amazing.
Again, there's so much more to Men in Black than I realised, and I think I may know some more secrets now about scoring more points.
You just have to ask Gregory.
Well, no, I didn't realise how many senses were in some of the aliens. I don't have to be specific, so that makes me feel a bit better. So yes, I really enjoyed that chapter. Then I got to chapter 10.
I'm waiting for the port of entry one. Have you got there yet?
No, I haven't put that one down, so I should have.
Really?
Yep. Which was, I can't even read my own writing now. The most terrifying event on Earth. What do you reckon that could be, Lee?
Us going for the first time.
The most terrifying event on Earth.
I mean, for other people, not for us.
No, it was Halloween Horror Nights, which
right.
of course is our big passion.
Even though we've only ever been once.
Although I must pull you up on something, sir.
Oh dear. Go on.
A paragraph.
Oh,
on
yes.
2004's event. A paragraph which was about 6 lines long. I demand a rewrite.
Oh, I do apologise.
It's the only year we've done, but it was across both parks.
Is it really?
Yeah.
The only year that I've been, I actually managed to go this year, and it's the first time that I've been, and it is. I mean, my two favourite things are theme parks and horror movies.
Yeah.
And it basically was just like an absolute geek out fest.
Yeah. How many boxes get ticked?
Yeah, it was difficult to write that chapter because
I'm sure.
you could write a book quite comfortably about just Halloween Horror Nights.
Absolutely.
Because
and that was really clear from listening to your interview with John Aiello last week. I mean, it was just Mike Aiello. John, I'm talking about.
Don't worry, I'll cut it. Say it again, I'll cut it out.
But it was, the amount of work that goes into those events is just absolutely incredible. It's almost like building a new theme park every year.
You can see how much passion Mike has for it as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so I've hybridised him with John Murdy, I think.
Maybe.
I really enjoyed writing that chapter, and I apologise for the lack of detail on the 2004 event, but there's too much stuff to fit into that chapter. It's just too much going on.
But yeah, that chapter, you could feel the passion when you wrote how you wrote it. It really came through in that chapter.
I'm really jealous of the scare actors at those events. Yes. I would absolutely love to be a zombie or a vampire or whatever else in a maze at Halloween Horror Nights.
I would do that for free, and I would really enjoy it.
I would pay to do it. Yeah. I'd go even further.
We could have a bidding war, aren't we?
Just the greatest.
It's very hard work. From what we actually know a few scare actors, and I know it's very hard work.
Yeah, and I probably lack the talents to actually do it, but I really appreciate what they do at that event. I just think I've never seen anything like it, and really I went to an event that was quite early on in the season, so relatively quiet, but the park was still just absolutely packed full of people, and the atmosphere was just amazing. I mean, I was there during the day, and then we went back in the evening, and it's like being in a completely different place. It's how they actually do that transformation within like an hour or something is just kind of ridiculous. It must be an incredibly well-oiled machine, the team behind that event.
I have to ask you a question then, Nick. Cabin in the Woods or American Werewolf?
I did like the werewolves. I think they probably just lift it above, but the Cabin in the Woods had the best sets,
right?
I'd say out of any of the ones that I went in this year.
Out of all the years that have been since we've sort of known about it, this is the year I was most gutted that we weren't going to, because American Werewolf is my favourite horror film of all time.
Although actually, I'm just thinking about, I mean, even just the pub set that they had for American Werewolf was just, I mean, you could see the money almost on the it was pretty amazing. But Cabin in the Woods was the first maze we went in, and it was pretty mind blowing. It was very, very impressive. So possibly just edges it, but it's difficult to call, really.
Brilliant. Yes, the final chapter that I have written down was chapter 11, which is the Wizarding World. Huge fans, aren't we?
Yes.
Again,
only slightly.
Again, it was just wait until you read that bit. It's like being there. Yeah, and a lot of, with us being such big fans, a lot of the stuff we did already know, but it was so nice to actually read it again.
The thing I want to do at the Wizarding World is run around touching everything to check if it's made of concrete.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't realised to what extent almost everything in that place is basically made of concrete, and it really does not show at all. I mean,
no, it doesn't.
They've made it look like so many different things, and I just want to go around sort of with a little hammer, kind of tapping on every single wall that I can see, just to check what is and isn't real. We
commented on the London facade over in the studios now for the entrance to Diagon Alley, and you would be hard pressed to not believe that they were brick built buildings. It looks amazing. Mm-hmm.
It does look incredible.
Yeah, I've got a quick question. It is something that we ask everybody that comes on the show, and I can't believe
you're going to beat me. I was just going to.
Did you try butterbeer?
Yes, of course.
Frozen or regular?
Do you know what? I think it depends on the time of day, because every time we went, I had the regular in the morning and the frozen one in the afternoon, in kind of the peak heat of the afternoon, and that was just right for me. I didn't fancy a frozen kind of slushy type drink first thing in the morning. It's not what you want. Although now I've heard about the warm butterbeer.
I know.
I think that would be a great choice for the morning. But in the peak heat of the afternoon, you just can't beat the frozen one. I don't think. I would always make that choice at that time of day. But they're both amazing.
Ah,
very cool.
Good answer.
But I couldn't persuade anyone else in my family to have one.
Really?
I was the only person who tried a butterbeer.
It's funny, actually. We noticed a lot of people would drink half of it and chuck it away.
Really?
Yeah, I saw when we were in the queue for Ollivanders, I saw quite a few people do it.
Just don't understand that.
I was like, yeah,
how can you do it?
Don't waste it, just give it here. I'm not bothered. I'll have everyone splash back.
Just go around drinking up the dregs.
I just like to put my hand up and say I'm Team Pumpkin Juice, actually.
I haven't tried pumpkin juice.
Pumpkin
actually.
juice is lovely.
Amazing.
I was so full of butterbeer that I couldn't physically manage it.
It's just so expensive.
It is expensive.
So, so I'm just going to quickly, not summarise the book, sum up. What I want to say first off is, let me just get it in front of me. I love the cover. It's a very attractive cover.
It is cool, yes.
Yeah, because you've not only got your people going into the studios, but you've got Elliot and E.T. and a dinosaur
And a mummy.
and a T-70.
A mummy.
Yes, the mummy. Yeah, you've already said that. And there's also a DeLorean in there as well. You see that one? And it's lovely. It's such a lovely illustration.
I was trying to make it so I can't take credit for it because there's a very talented cartoonist called Simon Goodway who actually drew it, but I did do the Stickman original version, which is on my laptop and looks absolutely awful. But the idea was I wanted it to be a bit like a sort of Where's Wally or Where's Waldo
cool.
drawing, so you could kind of. I mean, you spotted the DeLorean. I don't think everyone would have picked that out actually because it's kind of just over in the side and. He just absolutely nailed it. I absolutely love the cover. I can't really believe it's the cover of a book that I've written, to be honest. But no, I'm really pleased you like it.
Well, it's one of those things, it does draw you in. It makes you want more. If it was just a generic photograph, I'd be like, another one. Kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That draws me. Now, I've got to ask, are you depicted on there anywhere?
I'm not, actually. Now you've mentioned that. That would have been such a good idea.
Right, second edition.
I didn't put myself in there. Although one of the guys does look a bit like me.
There you go. That's you then.
Perhaps he's slightly. He might be a bit chunky for me. But he does look...
That's after all the butterbeers and goodies that you've eaten.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So the book is incredibly detailed. It's not a book you can rush through. The details are there. You need to read it at a fairly slow pace so you can take it all in, really, don't you? You'll miss a lot of detail if you rush through it. Lee.
Well, that's it. I haven't read it yet because I haven't had chance, and I was excited to read it anyway. Listening to you and Tracy talk about it, I'm desperate to read it now.
Good.
It's funny that you say that, actually, because you could literally write an entire book about probably any individual ride at Universal.
Quite possibly, yeah.
It's actually quite hard striking a balance between putting the detail in that people are going to want to know and not just completely saturating people with stuff that doesn't really add anything to the story. So that was actually quite difficult, so I hope I got it right.
Well, Nick, I honestly think you have. I really do, because this is a book that has got so much rereadability, if that's even a word, that I know that I will be going... It is now. It's an official word.
Well, yeah, I think you've both said it, haven't you?
Read that.
That's it. It's like now you've researched stuff to go and ride the attraction again that you've researched and see it in a completely different light.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, the other thing is it's not intended to be a guidebook. I mean, there are great guidebooks out there for Universal already, but just writing it did make me want to go back instantly because there are just little things in attractions that you wouldn't pick up unless you kind of knew about them to begin with, and hopefully people that read the book will kind of discover a few of those and find them on their next trip to Universal.
Yeah, it's got a good balance as well of nostalgia and planning, if you like, without it being a planning guide. It's got enough there to make people who haven't experienced parts of it go, oh, I didn't know that. I'm actually going to give that one a go next time. But then it's got enough for people who are like, oh, I remember that ride, I missed that ride. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. It's a good balance. So thank you very much for coming on and talking to us, Nick.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been, like I say, I need to read that book now. I need to find some time when I'm not editing to read that book.
Pull a sickie this week.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to come on the show, guys. It's slightly bizarre because I've heard quite a lot of my heroes on this show. Like John Murdy and all these guys, and I'm kind of slightly humbled that you'd consider me worthy of coming on the show. So thanks very much for having me on.
Not a problem.
It's been a great pleasure. Now we have a competition, don't we? And I do believe, Nick, you have a question for us.
I do. So hopefully,
I do. I'm going to say because
won't-
me and Nick went back and forwards on this question a little bit, didn't we? Even though
I'm
he pulled me
going
up.
to go with your one. Nick.
All
I'm gonna
right.
go with I think it's the best one. So, so hopefully, obviously being huge fans of Universal, listening to this show, this won't be too taxing for people listening. But the question is, which classic Universal Studios Florida attraction was removed to make room for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Diagon Alley expansion?
I know.
And
No
how many
clue.
copies are you providing for us to give away, Nick?
Let's say 3.
3. Okay.
Seems like a nice round number.
Brilliant.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
it's very
so
generous.
much.
It is. So if you know the answer to Nick's question, now I know it's a toughie, but think hard. Email the answers to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. You have until 12 noon EST on Monday 3rd of March to get them in. Good luck, everybody.
Yes.
There's 3 up, so
And if you don't want to win
Perhaps.
one after that interview,
Yes.
there's something the matter with you.
there is. Now, actually, if they do want one,
There is.
Nick, where can they get one from?
Oh, yes. Good point.
So basically, Amazon. So any country that has an Amazon store, if you type in, either just Universal Orlando or Universal Orlando, the unofficial story, then it will come up with the book, and it's available either as a paperback, which is the copy that we're giving away, I should say, and or as a Kindle book. So you can get it on your Amazon Kindle, your iPad, or your smartphone.
Very cool.
Awesome. So that's it for episode 78. Don't forget to get those competition entries in, otherwise I'm keeping all the prizes.
How many more copies do you need?
I will read it. I will read each one. I can do it. So thank you again, Nick, for coming and joining us. And
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. And check out themeparktourist.com as well as micechat.com. Until next week, for Lee and Nick, I'm Tracy, and this has been the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast.
That does it for another Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Between shows, we'd love for you to get in touch. So email us with your spews, funny schmitz, comments, questions, and news to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Keep up with what's going on every day by following us on Twitter @UUOPodcast and follow Eric in the Parks @UUOPEric. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/UUOPodcast. Follow us on Instagram and Pinterest @UUOPodcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/UUOPodcast. And don't miss a show by subscribing to us on iTunes, and please leave us a review. Not an Apple user? Then head over to uuopodcast.libsyn.com and subscribe to the feed while you're there. You can also find us on Stitcher Radio and at micepod.com. Come find us on our partner site, micechat.com, join the forums, and say hello. So thanks for listening, and remember, be adventurous.
This has been a MicePod.com presentation.
Nice chat.